Joining me now is Jehangir Malik OBE, the Executive Director of Islamic Relief UK. Also joining me is Cheryl Campbell, the Executive Director of media charity TVE. What has Islamic Relief UK done since Saturday's devastating earthquake in Nepal?
Well, since the devastating news of the earthquake which hit Nepal on Saturday evening, measuring 7.8, the worst earthquake disaster in the last 81 years in the poorest country in South Asia, Nepal, we as Islamic Relief have mobilized our regional disaster response teams and have moved people from India, Pakistan, Southeast Asia, and are mobilizing capacity from all over to help build a team that will respond effectively to the needs on the ground. So mobilizing our teams and our humanitarian aid efforts from region into Kathmandu and beyond to assist the aid efforts.
Jehangir, where are you focusing your efforts initially, and is it difficult to get help to where it's needed?
Well, like every disaster, unfortunately an earthquake, the first thing to go is the infrastructure, and that makes telecommunication, road infrastructure, transport, basic essentials to understand how serious and how widespread the disaster has had an impact is difficult to assess at the moment in time. But early signs and indications are saying that over 5,000 people are dead, over 8 million, a quarter of the population has been affected, and hundreds of thousands are displaced at this moment in time. So numbers are unraveling as we speak. We're early days into the situation, and I think what we've seen currently is what the impact is in Kathmandu, but that's at least 30 miles outside of the epicenter, and I think the more devastating news is unfolding as we speak. So we're very fluid, as the term is often used in these kind of disasters, and to give a definitive sort of piece at this moment in time is very difficult.
Now, we've talked about the response that you make when an emergency happens, but what has the response been of the British public?
Well, the British public always demonstrate their compassion and humanity despite we being in austerity measures or despite being in difficult times, economic times. The compassion that's demonstrated by the British public, whether it's Ebola, whether it's Syria, whether it's Gaza, and now whether it's now in Nepal, the British generosity time and time again defies all logic, in the sense that compassion is the sort of number one driver, and the outpour of generosity was once again demonstrated. And so it's amazing to see, it's amazing to witness, and everybody is donating profusely at the disaster response at this moment in time. I think early signals at the Disasters Emergency Committee are again showing unprecedented response from the British public.
What is your priority as an aid agency there at the moment? We've seen media reports saying that people are losing things like water and access to power. Is things like food getting through?
Food is being mobilized. There's only one airport in Kathmandu. Okay, we know that because, like many climbers or challengers, we send volunteers all from across the globe to climb up to base camp Mount Everest and be a part of our fundraising strategies, and we arrive at Kathmandu. There's only one small airport, and it's absolutely stretched to the limit at this moment in time. So the local capacity to handle aid efforts coming in is a major challenge. But I think with the aspects of army and military and everybody else coming in to ensure that the hardware is there, aid is making its way across. We've got tents that are being shipped across from Pakistan as we speak right now. So shelter is a priority. This is the fourth night that people are sleeping out in the cold, and children are not only witnessing the trauma of the earthquake, but now the uncertainty as to when it's safe to go back to what they don't know.
Now, we've discussed the aid situation and what is getting through. What is the sense that you have of how widespread the impact has been?
Early signals of over 5,500 people that have been killed as a result of what we can just assess right now. The authorities say that can quite easily double to 10,000, which gives us an indication that the outlying areas, the ones that we haven't been able to get to, again because of road infrastructure being completely damaged and so forth. And I remember this from the Pakistan earthquake and so forth, that once we get some kind of access to the outlying areas, we'll get a proper indication of how severe this is. But the poorest country in South Asia, again one of the poorest countries in the world, in already a difficult circumstances, very close to the breadline. A lot of tourism coming into Nepal was keeping Nepal alive and afloat. And obviously the tourism industry is going to have a huge impact, and so this is going to really take Nepal back a long, long way unless the international community come to the long-term rescue and support of Nepal. But I fear the worst for a very poor, difficult country in Nepal.
Now, I actually have a friend who lives in Kathmandu. What advice would you give to him, and what can he do to help?
I think it's those that survived the earthquake. I think the amazing thing that I've witnessed personally in the earthquakes and disasters all around the globe is how people pull together. The differences just seem to push away, and so we pull together in our common bond of humanity. It can be a shoulder to cry on, it can be a listening ear, it can be money that's raised, it can be mobilizing efforts, whatever that we can do to try and help and assist the people. Here in Britain, one thing that we do not advocate is for people to pack their bags and to get into Kathmandu, especially well-meaning, intended volunteers is not what's needed over there. If you're on the ground over there, try to assist wherever possible. And if your friend has local knowledge, then of course that would be of great benefit to the people that are arriving on the scenes to be able to assist and support. But at this moment in time, I think we all need to pray for the people of Nepal. We need to come together as our value of humanity, and again continue the compassion that brings us together to help the difficult situation in the people of Nepal at this moment in time.
Cheryl, we've discussed just how big the impact of the Nepalese earthquake has been, but of course we've actually discussed improvements on disaster preparations on this programme in the past. It doesn't seem to have been fully implemented here. The last death toll that we've seen was about 4,000. Why do you think that is?
We have been expecting, the world has been expecting there to be an earthquake in this part of the world. The last big earthquake in Nepal was in 1934, and because of the fault line in this area, there has been an expectation that there would be another big earthquake in this area. And the predictions for a death toll in such an earthquake have actually been significantly higher than the figures that we as yet know. So just to say again, as Jehangir has said, we don't know yet what the full impact is of this earthquake, but the figures are lower than the predictions had been. Now, that could be because some of the preparation which has been, some of the disaster preparedness over the last 10 years, which aid agencies have been supporting the Nepalese government with, have paid off. I don't know whether that's something that Jehangir would think had happened in this situation.
I think Cheryl's completely right. On a positive note, that over the last 10 years, the disaster response has changed to disaster preparedness, to disaster risk reduction, expecting that we will have a disaster, but as to what the impact will be, how much damage that will have, will be minimized as a result of how much preparedness. Now, our ability, or the aid efforts ability to mobilize within 24 hours, 48 hours, goods and supplies and human resource to the ground means that we were expecting something of this nature, and it's testing us in terms of our ability to respond and our ability to test our preparation to respond. So we haven't needed to fly people from West America, United Kingdom, Europe. They're in India, they're in Pakistan, they're in the Southeast Asia. They've been developed, their capacity has been built, they've been responding to disasters, they understand the nature of disasters. So therefore, the ability to adapt to the local needs has been quicker. And I think we're improving as a result of it. I mean, look, whatever the views on climate change are, that we can definitely see an increase in natural disasters. And this is the 5th Disasters Emergency Committee appeal in the last 5 years. And we're recognizing that man-made and natural disasters are on an increase. So it's a fact of life, whether whatever your viewpoint on climate change is, it's a fact of life that the frequency of disasters are increasing. So aid efforts have to adapt to that reality.